Hello and welcome to another VOD review. We're here, the San Francisco Shock taking on the LA Gladiators. This is the one that all of Twitch chat, I guess, wanted me to review first. It was an absolute banger of a series. It was actually so good. This one happened yesterday. Spoilers, I'm going to ruin it for you because I need to tell you what happened now. The Gladiators win it. In map 5, round 3, they actually got over the hump. The Gladiators defeated their, I guess, sort of like their white whale of just choking when it matters. So the Gladiators, big props to them. They played really well and they brought themselves back from the edge, which is something that they haven't done much throughout the entirety of their franchise. So I'm happy for them. On the other hand, if you're a San Francisco Shock fan, you can't be too disappointed with this result either. This, in my opinion, is the best we've seen the San Francisco Shock the entire season. They played really well. They're playing around their style. They're playing around their strengths. I think everyone is playing well. And they're playing as a collective unit, which is something that couldn't be said about them for a lot of this season. So I'm excited to see more of that from them going into the playoffs, because this is the perfect time to peak for both of these teams. Unfortunately, only 2 teams can go from the West, and Atlanta is on the other side of the bracket. I don't know if the Shock would have beaten the Atlanta Reign, especially with Pelican being out. I think there's more potential, but, you know, it is what it is. The Shock fall short. And their season woes continue, but at least they are playing better as a unit. So we're going to break this one down. We're going to watch a lot. There's a couple of main storylines that a lot of people want to know just from like the beginning of it. Why is Arns and Custa being subbed in and out? I don't know. We're going to try and work it out as we go. The same thing can be said with Smurf and Super. I think the Smurf and Super one makes more sense. I think if they're ever planning on playing Winston or Dive, they will play Smurf. And if they're planning on playing Reinhardt, they will play Super. That's pretty cut and dry for the main tank one. The Arns and Glister one is a lot less clear. I will say this. It's one of those funny situations where no one seems to complain or care until they lose. They've been doing this throughout the entire Countdown Cup. Glister has usually been coming in, usually for map 3 as well. Like, Glister comes in and he goes to plays. It's been a set strategy that they've done the whole time. Super's been playing Reinhardt the whole time. But then as soon as they lose that one match, everyone's going to baby rage over it, decide that they're going to become the head coach. So we'll try and have a look at it and try and understand it a little bit better. All right.
Three, two.
Oh, that's very loud.
Round 1. Capture the objective.
Down. Oh, shit, actually. 1 second. This is probably... Are all my settings going to be wrong? 1 second. Looks okay.
Wobble wobble, motherfucker.
Ducks are pets. Thank you very much for the Prime Gaming sub. For Axis with the 300 bits as well. Huh, I noticed you're voting the Glad Shock game. Why didn't... There are the 300 bits for Axis. Cosby with the 4 months as well. Hi, nice to meet you. I'm fine. How about you? Are you okay? Good old Kariv. I was fucking with... Oh, I turned off the sound as well. Alright, there we go. So, Gladiators coming on the Genji. I don't really like the Genji here. This is something that I think probably Toronto got the most hate for. My problem with the Genji is it's just so inconsistent. I feel like you have to get value from the Nano Blade, and they usually do, or the Blade in general, but it's just so hard to get value in the neutral. Alright. Here we go. Oh, good. Sleeping on the Kree. Oh, the roll. Alright, so there's not a whole lot happening. Shock are winning this fight, right? Like, you look at the composition that the Gladiators are playing. Gladiators are going to bleed out faster than the San Francisco Shock. They have range with Arns on the Kree, Twilight on the Baptiste. Like, they can also just, like, heal up better. That's probably why they're going to get first fight. Arns actually got such a fast high noon. But yeah, they get the first cap. Oh, and then Arns gets birdering. And that's just sort of the weakness, right? Like, that's a big case for... Oh, they nanoed Muse. Did they just try and nano Muse? The Genji just loses in the neutral, right? And they just don't have the range and the damage. Oh, that was so greedy. He held it for so long. So they're going to lose the nano. They are getting trades here, but... yeah, it's not bad, but, you know, this time's ticking up for the San Francisco Shock. Now they've lost the nano, they don't really have a great engage tool as well, so Gladiators are probably going to have to play this slow, right? They just got to play it slow, try and close some distance, try and control space. The Shock should be able to control this pretty easily, though. Oh, space gets on. Great dive. And that's just this is a really good primal by Muse. Just finally get it. They have the ultimate to get in. I think Shock really needed to try and control more space, right? They let the tanks get over here. They let the DPS get over here, and they didn't really do anything. They dropped Twilight's window, but it's just not enough to deter the Gladiators from diving in. Now they have the Nanoblade again. They have Rally. Like, Gladiators are in a pretty good spot. Let's see how Gladiators utilizes this. No, we watch the games live, Lord. We use the same feed that the casters use, right? So we see it if anything more live than the YouTube. Alright. Stunned. Stunned. Gets double stunned. Still just fucking murders everyone. Oh, Violet with the bonk, but that should be the closeout for the Gladiators. They didn't use their rally as well, which was really smart.
Wobble wobble, motherfucker.
Agreed. Thank you for the prime sub.
Time to raise my APM. I'm gonna have to shoot you down.
Okay. Rally, rally. Diva bomb by choice. Pretty good. Force of positioning, right? How does Nero lose the bird ring? I actually remember seeing this. Does Nero just... oh, he gets shot by the Ana. It's weird how the assists don't show up for situations like that, but it looks like Birdring 1v1 Nero there, but Nero's just over here. He gets shot by an Ana, and he gets clipped by Birdring at the same time. So, good play. Nero just gets a little isolated. Oh, Ansainun was ambitious. Good play by the Gladiators here. Why are some teams more flexible than others? And what needs to happen for teams like the Outlaws to be more flexible? They just need to switch heroes, man. Like, we're not going to watch a Houston Outlaws VOD. So let me just sort of beat them down a little bit here. Because they played against the Gladiators. You just need to be able to adapt. The Houston Outlaws just refuse to play anything other than Winston Ana. And that is very exploitable for any team because... there are things that can counter the Winston Ana, and we saw that, right? Like, the Pharah is quite good against the Winston Ana. You can play slower and just punish the Winston from being able to do anything. Houston Outlaws are just really disappointing in this tournament. I don't know why they didn't feel like they ever wanted to switch off of the Winston Ana. I understand maybe this is your comfort with Crimzo on that Ana and Jungle on that Winston, but at some point, you need to switch it up if it's not working. They just get... and it's a very Outlaws thing to do as well. Like, they just... refuse to do it. And I actually said it in their match prior. Obviously, they got bopped by the Gladiators, but who did they lose to? They beat someone prior to that. Who was it that they beat? They beat Florida 3-1. And it's like, they beat them, but I said in that postgame, I'm like, they got to be careful about only playing Winston Ana because obviously, if you're that good and you are the better team than Florida, then it will work against Florida. But when you play against better teams, they are going to understand how to exploit it. Gladiators came into that match being like, they're going to play Winston Ana. We know what maps we're going to want to play on. We know what we're going to want to play in those maps. And they just showed up and executed. And Outlaws just took it. They just literally just rolled over and took it. And the Gladiators just won that match easily. So it's really disappointing from the Outlaws to just see the same things happening because this isn't just like a recent thing. This is like not only this season but last season where when things aren't working, they're unwilling to switch in the middle of a match. So they rolled Florida. They didn't roll Florida. It was 3-1. They were good, but that was just Houston being a better team, right? I don't really understand the whole Houston thing. I expect more. They have great players. They have great coaches. well, at least what I think are great coaches, it's weird to see this kind of thing happen. So, RLFC, thank you for 3 months. Chengdu for Countdown Cup. I am with you. Honestly, Harsha is a very bad coach. I think it's very hard to talk about coaches, and I think that's the thing. But, like, it's not just Harsha making this decision, right? Like, Jake is also a player coach who's also playing. Like, I assume he has a lot of weight in what's being played. Then you have, is Junkbuck, I think, is on that team, is the coach as well. Like, they have other people who can hold them accountable, right? It's not just Harsha, right, making these decisions. It is everyone, right? And that's the same thing can be said for Toronto Defiant, where everyone's going to watch that match. But with their Hanzo Genji shit, right, someone needs to be like, hey, guys, just spitballing over here. Maybe these things don't work and we should try something else. I don't know. It's very easy to say that in hindsight and speculate from a distance. I've been a player and people have criticized the decisions that we made, but behind the scenes, it was a lot more complicated than it looks like from the outside. But this one felt pretty cut and dry of like, hey, we might need to switch heroes at some point in a game of Overwatch. Hey, Shep, thank you for the fresh sub as well. All right, let's get it started. And this chat is what we call a tangent. Well, I think the tangent's valuable to talk about. It's one that we're not going to talk about later, so we may as well talk about it now, you know? Alright, Kevster with another blade. Nano? Oh, he went behind the pillar. That's tragic for Shoot. It's alright, Kevster's a boss. Nice dive, yeah. The Gladiators made this Genji look good.
Thank you very much.
I actually don't hate the Genji around the way that the San Francisco Shock play the game, right? Because the San Francisco Shock plays around the Orisa, the McCree, the Baptiste, Genji is actually quite good against all of those heroes. So I understand why the Gladiators came out on this. I think this is a great read from the Gladiators, knowing that they'll be able to get value out of it, every Nano Blade, right? Because as much as they have the Brig Bash, the McCree stuns, and that kind of stuff, they all die. They're like the Baptiste, the McCree, the Brig. Even though you can stun him 9 times, he's still going to have the Nano Blade and he's probably going to be able to get kills. And that's what we just saw from Kevster there. So.
Ready for battle.
Mama Mercy, David 100 bits. This match was an absolute bang. Left me with mixed emotion. I actually cried for guys because I'm happy seeing them. But the shot crushed me. But seeing the shot crushed made me feel bad for them. It's the way it is. Someone's going to lose. It would have been the exact same way if the Gladiators fell short. So it's those kind of emotions that make this competition awesome, right? You got to take the good with the bad, right? Like, you think the Gladiators would have been as excited if they hadn't fallen short the last, 3 tournament cycles? Shock will just come in the playoffs, 3-peat, and then they'll be happy. They'll get the last laugh. Alright, let's watch some Twilight Anna.
The objective is now.
So the Shock are coming out with the Pharah comp, the Anna Mercy. I like the comp from the Shock. The Gladiator, I don't know how I feel about this Soldier. Like, I feel like the Soldier just is going to spend his entire time running away. It's kind of what he's good at, but I think he holds Nero a little bit more accountable. Orang, thank you for the Prime sub. Part 2, it didn't help with people on Twitter. We're looking to blame someone's Shock. It's just the way it is. Just stop reading Twitter. That's what I did about this kind of shit. People are going to be dumb. I recommend the players, everybody, to stop reading what the dumb fans are writing.
I need healing.
So Birdering's doing a pretty good job, actually, of holding Nero back, right? Like, Nero can't play as aggressive as he would like to. He's going to have to end up conking in. Yeah, there you go, right? And then he just runs, right? That's a great find by Nero, though. Oh, I actually remembered what happened in this round. Oh, God, we're going to have to watch some throws later on in this round. Do you generally believe Shock will 3-peat? I think it's a possibility. It's still a possibility. I don't think it's likely. Shock would really have to hit their stride. Like, I think they looked really good in this match. But they still have a long way to go to 3-peat.
Your support.
Thanks for the assist.
Not good.
Alright, so the Shock have the positioning now, so it's going to be... Gladiators are other ones that have to take the space, so it's going to be interesting to see how they do this. Because Nero can just, like, shoot at their backline. It's going to be hard for them to step forward.
I require healing.
Damage increase. Clearing the area.
Oh, he's won. Nice play by Nero. Fired some trouble, though. Yeah, that wasn't great. Nero needed to not get caught, but I think the Gladiators did a great job. Like, let's see if Violet could have played this better. He dropped a little low, but it was fine, honestly. It's just a good recognition by Space. I think he got discorded by Shu as well. So that's just good play by the Gladiators to counterdive that, understanding that Nero's going to think. I think the biggest issue that the Shock are having right now is that Smurf and Arns are just on a completely different dimension than Nero and Violet, right? So they're not really diving things as a unit. They're just sort of trying to control space. Alright, so they Nano and Diva Bomb to try and hold this. Ugh, I don't really like all those ultimates. What? They literally used 5 ultimates in that fight. That they lost. Right? And Shu still has the Transcendence. They used 5 ults and Shu didn't have to use the Transcendence.
Need healing.
Does this go to increase self-damage? Yes.
I've got you in my sights.
I think that might have been a little too early to pop the visor. I think he could have held it another few seconds to see what they were going to do. Like, they were all so ready to run away from him as soon as he popped that visor. It was fine, it just didn't really get any value. God, Soldier gun without Bloom these days is kind of nutty. Because, like, look at players like Birdering who can just control the... Who can just control the recoil so well. Shu has still not used this Transcendence. Shu is still holding on to this Transcendence. There he goes. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. You sort of have to highlight what happened there, right? Of like, how did Shu not have to use his Transcendence for that many rounds against a Pharah dive comp? Means they're not putting... I think they might be putting pressure in the wrong spots too. Shu is just murdering everyone, actually. Oh, this was such a throw. This was such a throw by Shu. I remember this. Oh, that was so bad. Because that gets Shock back in to the fight, right? Like, Shock are bleeding out. Because Shu goes aggressive, they're not going to get the cap. He got too ambitious. This... I don't want to do my boy Nero dirty like this, but this needs to be highlighted. This... His player cam showed how much of a throw he knew this was when he went for this.
I need healing. You're powered up. Get in there. I am unstoppable.
He, like, missing that last rocket, like, screwed him over because they both lived with 1 health. Like, Skewed gets the mega, so he lives just for a little bit longer. They both live, and then they heal each other. Like, it's brutal.
I've got you in my sights.
Shu redeemed, yeah, Shu through, and then Nero, like, hard through the other way. It's funny because Nero and Shu both carried both this round for their respective teams, but threw at the last second.
Victory.
Alright, that's first map to the Gladiators. I think it was well played by the Gladiators. I think they got a good look. So,
Ready for battle.
you think he should have left the supports? He didn't need to go in the room. By going in the room, he's opening himself up to just get killed like that. So I think it was greedy to get nanoed and go in the room. He had them contained in the room anyway. They couldn't do anything because they couldn't come out of that room. There's no real reason for him to go in. Like, obviously, if he could kill both, they would have been fucking big and they would have just closed out the round. But an unnecessary risk, you know?
For battle. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Alright, on to Hanamura. Yeah, I think you guys know what's coming.
Defend
You want to get some Nero Torp pop? Yeah, let's have a look at it.
Let's get to work.
Cause the both that's like when both throws happened, we were just fucking yelling at our monitors, probably like everyone else. So Kevstar on the Genji. We got the Hanzo Genji, which I think we can all agree is just a terrible. I really hate Hanzo Genji. I think it's such a poorly designed. Like, think about it, right? The Genji wants to go in and dive, but can't until he gets the blade. But even once he gets the blade, he doesn't have anyone to follow him up. While the Hanzo is hoping to play back and just shoot arrows, but he's doing it against another bunker comp as well. So his shields are going to go down just as much. Same with the Zen. Gladiators have a ton of damage, but not as much damage is going to overcome the San Francisco Shock's setup. And also, Kevster just isn't as effective. I think if you're going to play this, you may as well... Kevster either needs to play like a Tracer and try and provide flank value, but it will be hard against the Torp, or just go damage himself as well. Right? Like, I'd almost prefer to see like a Pharaoh Mercy or some shit like that, right? Like, poke it down like hard. The only way they really bust through this first point is because Birdring just murders a couple of people. Like... Get some good shots and just murders a couple of people. So we'll watch it as it goes. So Choi closed the doors on Birdring as he tries to get in.
Need healing.
You are advised to move behind my back.
Is a Hanzo counter the Torp menace? Yeah, Hanzo's really good against Torp because Torp doesn't do anything against Hanzo for the most part, right? Hanzo is just a better Torp. At least in the head-to-head. So.
Turrets under fire.
Casters were politely railing on the Genji pick. Yeah, I agree with it, right? Alright, so here's where you need to open up, right? It's like... So obviously the last fight that they did, like, Birdring just gets stuffed. But like, so now here's what they're gonna do. They're gonna open up, like literally nothing's happened and he's just gonna, plonk. He gets in this time, and I think this might have been a mistake by Shock of they didn't have anyone who could contest Birdring from getting in over here. And then just like,
Enemy turrets. Let them up.
plonk. Through the window, just dink super as well. Like, it's gonna happen. You're playing against a good Hanzo. They probably just gave Birdring too much space. Choi needed to be in a spot where he could help control that earlier, but that Birdring busts his shit wide open for the Gladiators.
See through the dragons.
Man, I hate Hanzo, same. Just watching what some of the like Hanzos did, like Birdring, Hisu, and shit like that this weekend, it's just like, goddamn Hanzo.
New defense point. Objective B.
Amplification matrix charging. See that which is unseen.
Shield's taking damage.
So great dragon, he actually gets it out. We actually saw a lot of dragons get eaten through walls and stuff like this. Choi wasn't close enough. But Arns gets Kevster. How does Arns kill Kevster as this is coming? Woo! That was actually disgusting. Holy shit. That was actually filthy.
Time to raise my APM.
Just two random as fuck dinks. And they can't push anymore, right? So they do get the Torb out at least. They should be able to just disengage from this.
Routing power to forward barrier.
I don't think Shock pushes the issue, yeah. So, Gladiators get a reset. Watch it again? Nah, there's no point in watching it again. It happened. It was filthy. He hit the shots.
I'm gonna have to shoot you down. Nerf this.
Alright, Choi with a great Diva Bomb. Does Shu have his lamp up? I assume Shu doesn't have his lamp up. Oh, that was fortunate the bomb went behind the shield. I think a lot of people would have died there. Alright.
Routing power to forward
He just drops the lamp anyway, post.
in the fight. Routing power to forward barrier.
Alright, Gladiators pushing the issue. Bongo bongo. Bingo bango. They got the rally at least. Yeah, Super just gets murdered. They have the rally. Arns tries to go for the high noon, just gets absolutely bodied by damage. Kevs tries the blade. Gladiators should be able to close this out. Who are they missing? Who am I not seeing? Birdering? Oh, Birdering's dead. Okay, right. Alright, we got the blade from Custa. This is the most Genji play ever, right? Of like, here's why I don't like Genji, right? It's like, so he's been building up to this ult for so long. And then it's just like, because he doesn't have the nano, it's like, oh, they use a rally and the lamp so he doesn't get value. Imagine if Custa was just playing like Tracer this whole time. I feel like he would just be getting way more value from just like the pulse bombs, from just like passive value. And he's going to stay on the Genji. It just doesn't feel like he's synergized or really has that execution that he can really do. So, we're going to see Arns go over to the Widow, which is... I would generally say I don't like the Widow, but against what the Gladiators are playing, I actually think it's really good, especially because they don't really have anyone who can stop Arns from taking all these angles, right? He's going to get free shots, and he's going to get picks. Like, even the Tracer against this Torb, like, going back to that idea, the Tracer against the Torb, I think, is still fine. You're at least going to force Nero to, like, pay attention to him. With the moist splooge again, just causing issues. Here's the Genji. So they do get Twilight on the way up. Actually, I had this question for someone. Does anyone know, if you throw a whip shot through a window, does it double the damage? Dude, Skew just fucking raid boss through there. No? Okay, I didn't think so. Because it's like a physical object. It's not really considered a projectile for the most part. It is a projectile, but it's not really considered a projectile. They just can't really deal with this Nero Torb right now, especially with Arns being on the off angle. So Arns is on the off angle with Nero. So Nero's protecting Arns. So when Gladiators are using all their resources to get in, they're really just sort of pushing away the tanks, but they're not dealing with the DPS. So the DPS are just free shooting, right? And like, how does Genji win you this, right? It's not like the Genji can put pressure on the Torb Widow. If anything, I think Genji is worse than Tracer with putting pressure on those heroes, because as soon as he takes damage, he doesn't have anything. He's not going to get healed. He doesn't have a recall or anything like that.
No one can hide from my sight. Oh.
Team up for special attack.
Let's have a look at this Eep from Choi.
Team up for special attack.
Nice catch. Skew gets punished this time. He doesn't have the rally. He can't play that aggressive. And I just love this setup from the San Francisco Shock, right? They play the Bap, the Brig, and the Orisa up here. Then they play the Diva, the Torb, and the Widow down here. And that just gives them a crossfire, right? It makes it so the Gladiators have to deal with one of them. The issue that Gladiators are doing right now is they're trying to deal with the up one, but without doing anything to stop the pressure coming from the side. So what that does is it means they have to sit in this hallway, and they're just taking too much damage, and they can't get enough value.
Damn.
Yeah, Josh on the Bren with a castle from here. I talked about Outlaws earlier. Miracle Whip.
Much
60 seconds remaining.
Yeah, I think a Tracer would be better. I absolutely think a Tracer would be better. Or even just like fucking play like a McCree at some point, right? Just like go full bunker. So they're gonna Diva Bomb engage. That'll give them the high ground. Oh, dude, Choi though. You can't get away with that shit against Choi. Look at Choi. He's like a fucking... He knows the cost of going for this from space. He's like, oh, we going. All over it. So space instantly gets punished for that. Kevster's trying to do the flank onto the Torb. Just, as you saw, he just can't get any value. They use the bomb to get the high ground, and that's great, but the Shock just disengage, and they keep this high ground situation over here with Arns and Nero. Just constantly applying pressure. Like, Arns, I don't know if Arns is being shot at yet this on Widow.
Such potential.
10 seconds remaining.
Arns doesn't miss. Arns isn't even really doing that much damage, right? Like, at least not highly impactful damage.
Resistance.
He's just a threat, and that's the biggest issue, right? Like... Twilight says no, Kevster. And that's it. Like, Kevster used 2 blades on that second point, and both of them got negative value, right? Like, neither of them were valuable at all.
Round 1.
Yo, Joel, thank you very much for the raid, my dude. What's up? Tier the 100 bits. Every time Arns gets on Widow, I skill with excitement. Yeah. Alright, here we go.
Ready for battle.
Here it comes. This was such a sick play from the San Francisco Shock. Just the set play of this was so cool. Oh, he doesn't have boosters. So brutal. Such a smart play. We don't see many set plays like that usually, right? They must have known that Super was gonna play. Space is definitely over greedy here with his to try and get that extra couple of percent in. But yeah, gets hooked in his boosters, doesn't have anywhere to go. Brutal. And then so they just run off of that, right? They even keep Choi on the Roadhog. And it's funny because I really like this setup from the Gladiators. I think it's such a good setup. But yeah, just busted that shit wide open. Didn't Muse also try this? I don't know if Muse tried this exact play. So the biggest problem here as well is that Gladiators... Here's my thing. I actually think Gladiators should not have recontested this, right? With how cleanly they lost the first fight, I think they would have been better just giving it up because winning this fight for them is such a low percentage, right? Because of how much space that the Shock have. The biggest issue with Gladiators recontesting is they come back in, but by trying to come back in with the low percentage chance, they actually give away so much ult charge to the San Francisco Shock. So now, they use the barrage. They trade the barrage for the window. Shock are now coming in with Shatter, Pulse Bomb, Transcendence, and High Noon that they're going to be able to utilize. I guess Birdring gets the EMP. That's the trade-off that you choose. Like, Birdring does a great job of living and gets the EMP. But they need to get high value out of this EMP here as well. They use the 92. That's true.
I might need this later.
Kev not having a good day. I think his barrages have been quite poor. And this is just Birdring. I think he's forcing it too much. Like, he's gambling here that he's going to hit everyone here. Twilight does a great job of dropping the lamp. Getting that lamp down for Violet gives him that little bit of extra time. The Gladiators heavily commit into trying to deal with this. As soon as this Transcendence goes down from Violet, they just get run over. So the Birdring EMP was good. It just, you know, Twilight outplays him with the Baptiste lamp. And that's it. Like, that was a crazy fast attack by the San Francisco Shock. One of the fast attacks we've seen in the league. Did that break a record? Actually, did they talk about it breaking a record? It felt fast.
Ready for battle. Ready. Ready. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers in.
Oh, it wasn't a full cap. That's fair. That makes sense. Because it wasn't a full cap, they only had to go to 95%. That makes sense. That makes sense. Can't break a record if you don't do the thing that everyone else needs the record, even though they probably would have. Yeah, I see it. Fire the cannons. Thank you for the 2 months. Alright, so we're going to see San Francisco Shock come out with the Glista Widow. Alright, so we're going to see the Glista get subbed in for Arns here.
Justice ain't gonna dispense itself.
And the Gladiators are going to play the Xayah Wrecking Ball dive against the San Francisco Shock. So Shock are going to slow it down. Gladiators are going to play the dive. Space on the Xayah, I don't know how I feel about it. I think you can definitely make it work. Obviously, we see some brutal things from Space in this, but we'll have to have a look. My biggest issue that I had with the Gladiators in this map was just how poor their ultimate usage is, okay? Keep an eye on how they utilize their ultimates because it's really poor. It seems like they understand how they should utilize the ultimates. The problem is there is no follow-up with when they use any of them. They're not diving effectively. Why don't Xayah teams play as much as the Western teams play Xayah as much in the East? I think D.Va's better. I think D.Va's just straight up better than Xayah. I think Xayah can dominate, but I think the chances of D.Va just being better is higher. So here's the thing. I think the Gladiators have given the Shock a lot of space. Scoot kind of fucks this up. Does he accidentally just bash off the side? But they give a lot of space to the Shock, so the Shock actually closes the distance before the Gladiators are able to get an effective dive. So he tries to bash Violet, but he goes over, which is kind of a mistake, and Skewed gets punished there. So this is kind of a throw by Skewed. With that bash, just goes over the head of Violet. And now they just don't have the support, and they can't effectively dive. Shu goes down next. So kind of a poor first defense. Any idea why they sub out Arns? Okay, so let's talk about this more because this seems to be a big thing for a lot of people.
The payload.
My best guess of why they play Glista instead of Arns is they would want to play Hanzo on this map. I think they want to play Hanzo. I think Hanzo's really good on this map, and I think that's their plan. But then, because the Gladiators are playing this composition, Glista goes to McCree because Glista is a flexible player. That would be my reasoning and my guess of why they wanted to do that. Maybe Glista to play Tracer. They wanted to play like Tracer Pharah at some point. I don't really completely understand it. Alright, so Muse Slam. You also need to remember as well, actually, here's an important thing to note. We've heard this from multiple times from like Super, from Custa. The Shock play their players in a way that they give everyone the opportunity to play in any composition and any map. And they are very flexible with who plays on what map based on just performance, right? So maybe Glista's just always played better on Blizzard World compared to Arns. Maybe they just never want to play Widow on this map, so they don't play Arns. Like, it's hard to really know the justification. Alright, so once again, the Gladiators playing quite slow. Muse gets bashed. Space throws the grab, and here's a classic one, right? Space throws the grab, but there's just no follow-up. There's no one else to really follow through with the grab, so the grab gets a good amount of value because it is a great grab. He gets both supports. He does get value on his own, but no one else can really follow it out, and that's what results in trading from the team. But now we go 3-3. The rally from Violet should pretty much guarantee that they're going to get the cap here. But I don't know if they can do anything, mainly because of the people that are in the rally. They have Baptiste, Brig, and the D.Va. Doesn't really offer them a whole lot. They're going to live, but they're not going to, like, punish. Alright, so Birdwing's going to EMP these three people. Should pretty much guarantee the kills. That's EMP and mines to close out this fight. Like, I think you take that if you're the San Francisco Shock. Space is 65% to another grab, though, so he's charging it incredibly quickly. Go on, Rome. Thank you for the 9 months. Alright, so once again, the Shock are trying to, like, they're going around the outside, right? So they're just trying to get into this room. Muse gets bubbled. Ooh, don't like that window from Twilight. Oh, and the lamp. I think Twilight expected them to be coming, diving more, right? I actually think he thought the EMP was coming. I think he hears he hears the Sombra on stealth, and his mind just instantly thinks he needs to lamp because he assumes an EMP, even though he just got EMP'd. So this is actually kind of a throw.
Let them up.
Yeah, that was quite bad by Twilight. Just muscle memory hearing a Sombra uncloak. And here's the space. Like, it's actually kind of impressive that Space did get another grab. I don't know what he threw this at, though. He kind of threw this into Narnia. I think he just assumes that they're... So he hears the Matrix, and he assumes they continue walking up the stairs, right? So this is the best time to throw the grab, but they stop walking forward. So that was, yeah, not great. And then shoot Transcendences to help Muse, who didn't really need a whole lot of help. Oh, good engage. What? Did Skewed go fucking raid boss again? What happened here? Yeah, Skewed's getting... That's another throw by Skewed. Skewed's had a couple of misplays so far on this Blizzard world. Let's go back to Space, who's at 40% to another grab. Yeah, they just, like, as you can tell what we're talking about, right? Like, is they're just not getting the effectiveness from these ultimates that they really need to get, right? If you're playing this dive comp, you're very heavily dependent on your EMPs, on your gravitons, on your mines to really close out fights. Mines come down. But yeah, they just... It's just not enough, right? So once again, another ineffective set of mines that didn't close out the fights.
Shoot you down. Time to raise my APM.
Alright, so now we got the Birdering EMP. Let's see how he uses this. So you just didn't wait for the full rally armor? He didn't wait for his full rally armor, but also it doesn't matter how much rally armor it has. It doesn't mean you can jump into the middle of a bunker comp, right? He literally jumped into the middle of a McCree Torb. He just gets flashed. McCree Torb, Reinhardt, Brig, Bap. It's just like, if he gets stunned, he just dies. And that's what you saw. No worries, fire the cannons. Thanks for hanging out.
My ultimate is almost ready.
So here's the thing about this EMP that we're about to see, right? Let's do a thought experiment. Do you guys think this is a good EMP? Four out of 10. So yeah, you guys have hit the nail on the head. It is a good EMP under the basis that he's going to hit a lot of people. He's in a great position, right? The issue with this is it is impossible for, like, Muse to follow up into here as a bolt. He can't effectively get a slam. He might be able to roll through at the right time. Kev's just going to have to blink into a small room. Shu and Skewed are going to be so far away that they're not going to be able to get nades, get Discord orbs, and that kind of stuff. So what's going to happen is he's going to EMP here, right? And it's going to be good. But it's not going to be, like, the rest of the San Francisco Shock, especially when you play against a Brig and a Baptiste, they can both do pretty good passive healing, and he doesn't hit the Brig because he gave the thing. So Muse actually gets in here and gets a good slam, but it's just, as you can tell, the follow-up just isn't there. So that's why you generally, doesn't matter how many you hit, it's more about, can you hit someone who can be isolated by the entire team and work together as a team? So then they use their EMP and they don't get anything. And it didn't even force anything out of the Shock either, other than a couple of resources. So all of a sudden now they have to hope for a grab, right? So now Space is the grab, Shu has the Transcendence. Okay, well, here we go. Space sees Choi throw the grab, throw the Diva Bomb. He does a great job of dodging it. They do a good job of dodging it. But he just heard Kev's the recall, right? Or should know that Kev's just recalled because of the Diva Bomb. He throws the grab in. It's a great grab. But once again, the follow-up just isn't there. Kev's just used his recall. The backline is kind of far away. They're in a shield. Because he had to yeet it, and the reason he was allowed to is because Choi wasn't in mech, he yeeted it too far. So the closeout isn't there. So once again, it's another ult that doesn't have the follow through for the team. Great idea in concept because it gets a lot of players, but then they don't have that follow up. So once again, the San Francisco Shock are just going to be rolling in. This is Muse used mines to try and hold second, didn't get any value. Birdring uses the EMP to try and close out. In the room, doesn't get any value. Space uses the grab, doesn't close out. Just as you can see, the ult usage is good, it's just not that getting that teamwork. And that's a big thing that a lot of people don't consider. And here's something that I'm going to do. I'm looking at you, chat. I'm looking at you guys when you play your ranked games, okay? Because I've heard people say this all the time. They're like, man, I play Sombra all the time. I get so many big EMPs. I get so many big grabs. There's just no follow-up because my teammates are trash. Man, my teammates are just so shit. I can't do all these great things and they don't follow. You need to do it in a way that even the bots that are on your team are going to be able to follow up, okay? You need to be able, that even the simplest dumb person can roll their face over their keyboard and can help you follow up on your ultimate. So you guys got to be careful when you think of those things because you can get the best EMPs or the best grabs. They were a good EMPs and grabs theoretically, but no one else could help them. So I'm looking at you guys. Time to learn. I'm calling out specifically Liz. Honestly. Nah, my team's dumb. This is actually a really sick shadow by Super. Let's have a look at this. So he slams the ball and the tracer, but look at this fire strike. Jumps to hit, make sure he hits the ball, but also hits the tracer. Clean from the cashew. Gets both kills, and that is a clean push by the San Francisco Shock.
Ready for battle.
And you know what's worth stating as well here? That was well played by Glista. I think Glista hit a couple of really good flashbangs. I think he used his high noons defensively as well, which was a really good job against the aggressive style. Glista, I think, is playing really quite well on this McCree on this map. I think there's a lot of San Francisco Shock fans who've decided to put their pitchforks down. Well, actually, no. Okay, here's the thing. The San Francisco Shock fans, they didn't put the pitchfork down. They put their Nero brand pitchfork down. They're like, oh shit, so which pitchfork do I want? Oh, Glista. Yeah! Fuck you, Glista. Pitchfork's back out. Yeah, you suck. You're the reason we lost this game now. Like, it is not on Glista of why they lost this game. I think Glista actually played perfectly fine. You don't have to choose and try and scapegoat a player and blame him. Why didn't you just play Arns the whole time? Arns was pounding. Glista was fine. I think Glista played really well. I think, you know, obviously you can make arguments, but I don't think that is the primary issue. I think the Shock played well for the most part, and I think Glista did play well in the maps that he did. So
5, 4, 3, 2.
Glads are just more clutch. Exactly. Like, I think Shock played well. I don't think at any point, like, I think you can easily make arguments that Gladiators threw Hanamura and Blizzard World. But I don't think any of the three maps that the San Francisco Shock lost, were thrown. Like, I think there were a couple of individual errors, like we talked about Nero on that Pharah, on that Ilios, where he went into that room. That's a minor thing in the grand scheme of things. I think Shock played well. The Gladiators were just better than them at times. And that's what is endearing to me about the San Francisco Shock, because you can't, the same thing cannot be said for the entirety of the season. Shock have definitely done their little bit of trolling and throwing. So we just go back to blaming Nero? No, we're not blaming anyone. You don't have to blame a player. Just accept that your team wasn't better. You can make arguments that this player made this mistake, we could have done this different, but you don't need to blame someone when you lose. You think the level of play from the Shock is markedly worse than last year, or that the talent around the league has elevated the gameplay to a level above last year's? I think this level of play from the San Francisco Shock that we saw in this match is equivalent to what we saw from the Shock in previous years. I think that is true. I think earlier in the year, it was not the level of Shock that we have seen in the past. I think they were playing drastically worse than we know for them for. But I think everyone else has gotten better. I think the Gladiators have improved to a point where they can contest with the Shock that we've seen from previous years. And I think they are playing well. I'm gonna grab the tire pitchfork. Where's my tire pitchfork at? It's gotta be here somewhere. Blaming you for the Shock losing? Okay, fuck it. No, you guys can blame me. I don't give a shit. If it saves the players from being blamed, you can blame me. Oh, how does Twilight take so much damage that no one's healing it? So he doesn't have a shift. Good slam by Muse as well. Actually, it is worth noting as well, I think Muse hasn't had a great season, but I think Muse has played really well in this series as well. On this Wrecking Ball, his ability to be impactful without, like, turbo feeding too much, I think was really nice. So it was a good look from Muse.
Forward shield. Defense switch. I'm gonna have to shoot you down. Routing power to forward shield. No. Boosters engage. Get through this.
And the Shaka just slowly bleeding out. They actually did a pretty good job of contesting the point and staying alive as Violet gets back on the point. Like, if anything, actually, maybe you can make an argument that Gladiators need to play more aggressive, right? So let's have a look at this again, because I know some of you wanted me to look at Violet packs. Let's have a look at Violet. Here's Inspire. He didn't realize Twilight was dying. He had packs. I just don't think he realized that he was taking that much damage. And it was a surprising amount of damage to come from Birdering. So, I think he got Discord Orbed at the same time or something like that. So, just goes down. But yeah, so let's see why Gladiators don't go aggressive. I guess it is 5v5. So they don't want to engage without their Sombra.
I'm gonna have to shoot you down. Routing power to forward shield. No. Boosters engage. Get through this. Come on.
It's high.
Okay, so they get back in. Then we got the Glister High Noon.
Let them up. Draw.
Alright, that was a good hold. Shoot Transcendence, save his thanks. What a nice guy. Oh, the Transcendence heals him up from the flashbang. Good Pulse Bomb from Kevstar onto Twilight.
Need a doctor.
Glister has 325 health with armor. Glister takes
Need a doctor.
35 damage of his armor. I need a doctor. You have 65 armor overheal still. What are we doing here, Glister, okay? Yeah, you're confusing your supports. What's Shu doing? Just... Glister almost has another High Noon. He could potentially push Shu here. I kind of want him to push Shu.
Don't move.
Oh, good pulse bomb from Kevs. Let's have a look at that one. Shu's gaming, bro. Oh, there he goes. Good stick. They're all grouped up for him, but yeah, that's going to close it out. Oh, Kevsa. Did the EMP hit anyone? Let's have a look. It hit Choi, it looks like. Oh, he got pushed by Choi at the same time, so he actually got pushed far enough away from Violet. I don't hate that. I think the biggest issue, and you need to keep this in mind, when you're playing against a McCree Brig, like, he can't really close that distance, and if he had just hit Choi and Violet, I think it would have been fine. Fortunately, didn't hit enough. So many boop DMPs? Yeah, it's just people recognizing the win conditions, right? Alright, so now we watch the Kevs the Pulse Bomb again. Blop.
Objective lost. Stop the payload.
Let's watch some Muse Ball.
Someone help me! I'm missing.
Let's watch some Shu Zen.
See you later.
Sweet, that's great.
Hanzo, at your service.
My ultimate is ready. Proceed without fear.
Muse said, no ball for you. Just trying to check you out, Muse. So Glister goes over to the Hanzo, and this is what I expected. I think Glister is in this lineup to play the Hanzo. I think they came into this match expecting to play this Orisa Mirror. But obviously, if they're going to play the Tracer Ball Sombra, then the McCree is better than the Hanzo for the most part, I think. So, I think that probably explains why Glister is in the lineup. Let's watch Glister Hanzo, okay, then, and sort of make our own assumption then. I shoot Transcendence. Thoughts on Space diving into the backline and sacrificing himself? I think it's good. I feel like it's a very smart play and like something that he does very, very well. The best divas in the world play that aggressive style. They are the people going in, putting themselves at risk, right? I think it's easy to see them get demeched and then be like, oh, they're throwing, but you know, that's your job, is to create space for the rest of your team. So I think it's, obviously there is a limit. You don't want to just be inting in over and over again, but there's definitely, there's some divas in the league that will literally play so passive and do absolutely nothing, and then just like be like, oh yeah, I'm not dying, so therefore I'm useful, right? At some point you gotta throw. You gotta do a little bit of throwing, a little bit of diving, and sacrifice yourself to help your team win. Bad Petrick.
I will not be defeated so easily.
Alright, so the Kev's the Mei. I really don't like the Mei pick. I way prefer a Tracer than a Mei. The only time I like the Mei is when people are playing on like Control and they're playing like the Sim Mei. You know what I mean? And they're getting in each other's thing and they're walling out. If you can get a situation where you can get wall. But I don't know if I understand the value that you get from it here.
I need healing. I need healing.
Oh god. Oh wow, that was filthy. Oh, this is such a throw by... This is such a throw by Kevstar. I remember seeing this happen. Let's look at this back, okay? So it's 6v5, 5v5. You're now 4v5, 4v4, 3v4, and Kevstar is like, yeah, let's drop this Mei ult on the Orisa. After I don't know what he thought was gonna happen, but that was a bit of a throw by Kevstar. If he's gonna play the Mei, he needs to keep that one, especially if he's gonna, is he gonna stay on the Mei? So he switches to the Tracer. Maybe he's gonna swap, and that's why he dropped it. I don't know why he was playing Mei to begin with at that point, but
See through the
you know, it can't be a goal all the time. Yeah, and as I said, like, I'm not criticizing Kevstar as like a player, but that was definitely a bad play. Switching out of shame, yeah, that's one of those, oh shit, I just threw away my ult, let's just switch so people think I was just using my ult. Violet Twilight on BAP, I think Violet Twilight is just fucking disgusting. Violet Twilight, Zen BAP on Violet on Zen, Twilight on BAP is just it's like, you know, the amount of damage coming out of that backline is just filthy. Can we watch some Violet Zen? Alright, let's do it. Actually, I want to watch this dragon first, because I think this should be a good dragon. Fucking hate these guys. Oh, good Transcendence. That was a great bomb by Space, by the way. Look at where this lands. Is this a set bomb? Look at where this bomb lands.
60 seconds.
maybe not. He might have a general idea of where it's gonna land, but look at where this lands. It lands so that it will hit anyone over the lip, but also anyone on the platform. Like, that's just a fucking nice place to put a bomb. I'm surprised it doesn't get that. That doesn't get anyone.
Let them out into the
This just isn't going very well from a VOD review standpoint. So that's one of those ones that is like, is Space going too aggressive here? I think Muse is dead. You're 5v5. I think this is the right play from Space. I think you need to commit for this and then hope that they don't counter, they don't peel effectively. Because they gotta leave anyway, like. Oh, filthy. Alright.
The payload has reached the checkpoint.
Okay. They got to the third point. They don't have a whole lot of time though. Let's get some. I want to watch some violence then. You think guys will make grand finals? I think it's going to be really interesting. I think all 4 teams have a chance in the playoffs.
Let them out.
I require aid. I can use the payload.
60 seconds
I'm ready to
remaining.
initiate countdown.
Hello? Super? Wait, sorry, Space? Space just said, fuck you, Violet.
60 seconds remaining.
This might be a little too aggressive for my liking. Maybe he saw because the Diva Bomb went out and he was like, I can get him. But if Twilight got the heal off, that might have just been a throw. But he gets the trade. Because that forced a lot of peel, right? And here's the thing, right? That you need to think. Yes, Space trades, but because I think this would have been a hard throw if he didn't get Violet. Because he gets Violet, so he gets Violet, so he's going to trade 1 for 1 nonetheless. But Glista also has to pay attention. Nero has to come back, and Twilight was looking at Violet for that thing. So all while that was happening, the rest of the team got free space to just walk forward and kill a bunch of people. So it is worth.
30 seconds remaining.
Mission with your losing.
So yeah, you take that if you're Space for that one. It'll be interesting.
Let them out. Pass into the iris.
Destination.
Stop. Okay, 1 down.
10 seconds remaining.
Woo!
Pass into the iris.
Violet says, fuck you, Kevster.
10 seconds remaining.
That was nice. That was such an important kill as well. Yeah, Bongo's just too much damage, too oppressive.
Victory.
I thought Glista launched himself into a team, now he got pulled. Alright, and that's it. It's now 2-1 to the San Francisco Shock. There's no way they lose it from here, right? Gladiators are gonna crumble, right? They're gonna tilt off the face of the earth and hard throw.
Enough waiting around.
Attackers incoming in 30
Skewed Zen Pub? Sure, let's get some skewed Zen. Let's see what we think. Opinion on Shock's Ryan comps? I think the Ryan comps are good.
For a new high score.
Alright, let me explain why they play Reinhardt, because I feel like some people just be like, hey there, you know, he's playing Reinhardt because he's a one trick. It's really bad. The reason the Reinhardt gets played, and the reason it gets played in certain points, right? The issue with Orisa is that if you are having to continuously move around, like on Control, and maps like that, the Orisa can be quite poor because you're dependent on your shield cooldown to defend your team. While Reinhardt, he can move his shield around, he can maneuver around, he can control space and all that kind of stuff, right? And if they ever have to get in your face, the Reinhardt gets value because he can just swing his hammer at them, right? The Orisa can't always do that. So the Reinhardt makes sense on a lot on Control, and I think when Super plays it is the best examples of when it's good because Super's a smart player, and when he plays it is generally good. I think it is better, and I think you can get the advantage out of that Reinhardt when Super has been playing it. I think it's fine. I think it works. Orisa's a bunker, Reinhardt's a tank. No. And that's sort of what I'm trying to say. The Orisa and Reinhardt fundamentally are doing the exact same thing. The Reinhardt is just better because you're all of a sudden, instead of being a bunker where you can move every, 10 seconds when you drop a shield, you can now move whenever you want. Obviously, Reinhardt doesn't have the capability to shoot from range. You don't have the pulls, so Orisa is generally better on maps like Havana, right? Where, because it is so linear, and you're generally holding corners, you don't need that mobility on your main tank, who is going to be a part of your bunker. So therefore, it is fine that you can play the Orisa, because you can keep dropping shields, people can stay behind it, you can shoot them from a distance, all that kind of stuff. While when you're on Control, where there aren't as many corners that you just hold on, you don't want to just hold this one spot, Reinhardt gets more effectiveness, okay? That is why it is done. I think it is a fine composition choice. I think it makes sense.
5, 4,
No, Lucio, though, but they're not playing the Reinhardt as a brawl. Other than when they play the Sim Mei, they are not playing the Reinhardt as a brawl. They are playing the Reinhardt still as a bunker to counter dive generally. The reason the San Francisco Shock generally played is because they are playing their counter dive style, and when they get dove, like the Orisa doesn't do anything until you get dove, and then once you get dove, you'd rather have a Reinhardt anyway. So that is, it's not like they're changing the way that they're fundamentally playing it, they're just changing the main tank. So the reason that Skewed is playing the Brig and not Shu, is, let me explain this one as well, is because they potentially are probably going to go, if the dive starts happening, because of how bunkery the Gladiators are playing, I would say that they want to play Skewed on the Zenyatta so that he can switch to the Brig, so they can play Brig BAP if the San Francisco Shock decide to go to some form of dive, I would say, right? Obviously, if they want to go themselves to a dive, they'd have to go to the Zen Brig, and Shu would have to switch to Zen, Skewed would have to go to the Brig, but I don't think they're going to play a dive on Havana. So that is probably why Skewed is on the Zen right now. Accuracy on Zen important? Absolutely not. Isn't Skewed a flex support? Yeah. But historically, they play Shu on the Zen, right? Skewed is a flex support who can play Brig, so he's a good Zen Ana, right? Like, he can play the flex supports. APAC like Brig Zen with a BAP. The big difference is they usually play Brig Zen, but that's because they're playing with a ball, and I think they like the idea that when they even play Orisa Brig Zen, because that gives them the ability to switch to ball whenever they want, right? Because you can't play like BAP Zen and then switch to a ball. It's just it's a throw. We had made fun of the Outlaws for doing that, right? So that is generally why they play the Brig Zen, and also they always play a Tracer. So they play Brig Zen, Orisa, Tracer. While you can see teams like the Gladiators who play the BAP Zen, but the reason they're not playing Brig Zen is because they're playing with a Mei. They're playing very slow and bunkery in defense, right?
Open your mind.
barrier activated. Enemy confirmed.
Damn it!
I don't like this Mei. I don't like the Mei either. I think a bunch of teams tried to make it work. Like, I like it on the control, as I said. You know, you like your Oasis Universities because, like, you're walking into chokes. There's great walls to be... There's great walls to be got. But...
Let them up. My arrow finds its mark.
That's why you gotta be careful about shooting those angles at a Hanzo, but that's kind of unfortunate. How does Violet die to this? I remember watching this. Violet must not know where the dragon's coming from. I think he thought it was more to the right, and it looks like it is more to the right than it is. I think he didn't realize... I think he thought he was out of it, right? Like, look, like he doesn't have the dragon anywhere close to him. Like, he saw it. It's not that he didn't see it. I think he just misjudged where it was. It's kind of unfortunate. So I watch this Bird Ring Hanzo, because this is the beginning of the Bird Ring Hanzo.
See that which is unseen.
You are advised to move behind my back.
Swift as
Any analysis from the soldier, from the Hanzo? Playing Tracer against Mei, Hanzo, Orisa, Bap, Zen is just so brutal from time because it's very hard to just move around because everyone, the Mei and the Hanzo can one-shot you with the headshot. The Zen and the Baptiste can like poker you. It gets really hard to maneuver around the map. So I think Nero just wanted to like help. I think Nero's plan is probably if I can get up here as soldier, I'm in a really good spot. But it'll be interesting to see if he can actually ever get up there, right?
not dead yet.
This bomb was also sick, actually. Let's highlight this bit. This bomb is another great bomb by Space. I don't know if he like knows that this was gonna land here. But that is filthy. That is filthy that it hits both of them. Should Shock have gone dive? No, dive isn't very good on this map. They would have lost to the Gladiators comp if they tried to go a dive. They just need to get picks. Like they just haven't been getting the picks. The last like 2 fights they've just been getting picked before anything happens. The Dragon, the Diva Bomb engager and stuff like that. They haven't got any effectiveness out of their ults like Gladiators have been. This was a pretty bad play by Kevster here again on the Mei. Why not Farah? Farah's not very good on this point on attack because the skyboxes. There's nothing to hide behind and the skybox isn't that high. Especially once you get to the top of the ramp. So Kevster drops this, just not ready for the amount of damage that's coming out. That was about to be a great Mei ult, but because he goes down, it's going to be very hard. Nero Visor just gets nullified. So good plays.
I'm back in the fight. Boosters engaged.
Alright, let's get some Bird Ring Hanzo pop.
Payload has reached the checkpoint.
See through the dragon's eyes. See that which is unseen.
So Nero switches to the Mei, to mirror the Mei. And I don't know how I feel about it. I feel like it's just easier to take the counter comp. I think I might like Tracer more here from Nero. I think on the first point it can be hard, but I actually would have preferred to see Nero switch to the Tracer. Just be annoying, right?
See through the dragon.
But maybe it's still difficult on this point. Kill little dragon. Dude, Birdring is just trying to dodge everything. He's won! How did Violet just kill?
You are your own worst. Be one with the universe.
Filthy.
You are your
Woo!
Dragon consume you.
Woo! Woo! Birdering got 4. Sorry, Violet got 4.
My ultimate is charging.
My ultimate is almost ready.
20 on 20 violence. Yeah. That's a good wall. Have to use the Transcendence. A little bit too aggressive for my liking. They didn't want to have to use it there because they couldn't utilize the wall, the Transcendence very well. Like, that's good aggression from Space there, right? He has the bomb, so he has the accessibility to go aggressive, and that just opens it up for everyone else. Funnily enough, Kevster goes over to the Tracer. Disgusting. Alright.
60 seconds remaining. Cease your resistance.
Experience.
Didn't realize we were at 0.25 until he like jumped down. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Good. Forces lamp. Just applying a ton of pressure. And this is what I like about the Tracer, right? If you can just... He doesn't need to kill anyone. He just needs to be a threat. Like, Birdering just... yeah, I don't think he needed to take that duel. I think that was a greedy duel to take, just hoping that Gliss doesn't hit the shot. But he doesn't need to kill anyone. He just needs to be a threat. Nero's playing well in the Tracer. Yeah, Nero's a great Tracer. I think Nero was really good on that. Also, this is a throw. I don't know how the Gladiators... So the Gladiators get like a bunch of kills. Okay, so it's now 4v6. Okay. So then Kevster tries to ego duel Glister. Loses. Okay. Space tries to ego duel Nero. Doesn't get the kill. Feeds. In a 6v4, now we're in a 4v4. Birdering tries to ego duel Twilight. Loses. Now they try and drop a bomb, a bongo to try and outweigh their issues. Window bongo to try and hold on, and then they just get nullified by a Violet Transcendence, and they just get absolutely dove on. Surprisingly, Violet eschewed Liz for as long as he does, but even then, that was just like, this was like the moment that I thought the Gladiators lost. This was like the moment that I was like, Gladiators just threw it away.
The payload has reached the checkpoint.
Whatever called winnable? No, it was winnable. The issue was that they just took duels that were unnecessary. And that's a big thing that like you need to be careful of, and I'm not gonna lie, it's mainly DPS players that do it. Where like they take a 1v1 in a situation where you just don't need to take a 1v1. They have as a team the advantage. The only way they lose that is because both of their DPS tried to take a shot that they didn't need to take. And they both died for it.
60 seconds remaining.
For your safety, please move behind the barrier.
By the dragon.
Where's Kevster? Oh, Nero caught him. I think he thought Nero was further away. Space bomb. Not bad. But Nero do be fucking. Space goes for another classic all-in onto Violet. Gets the killer's baby, which is kind of funny, but... Also, this is ridiculous. Look at this.
For your own safety, get behind the barrier.
barrier.
Wait, that wasn't what I wanted.
Pass into the iris.
Ever get that feeling of deja vu?
10 seconds.
Time for short. Attack.
Scoot gets Custa.
Let them up.
He blinks left. He gets shot by Skewed as he goes left, and he blinks left and gets hit by Birdering's arrow. Thought it was the Zen? No.
Into the iris.
So good hold by the Gladiators. Nero pitchfork time. Alright, let's get going. Smurf like the ball player. Smurf's the Winston ball player generally for the shock. Alright, let's watch Birdering do some fucking. Let's have a look at the Glister Widow. I definitely think the Hanzo would have been the better play, just for consistency, right? Obviously, this can be a good Widow point, but... And this is just why you don't see a lot of teams play the Widow. It's like, you don't get any passive value. So unless he hits a couple of headshots, he's literally just trolling. Like, he's not doing anything, right? All of his damage is kind of redundant. Space just turboing into Violet again. Dude, Space is actually just feeding. Like, but it's like tactical feeding, every single one. So he's basically getting a good tank. Yeah, exactly, right? Like, he's literally just, like, running at the opposition. He understands how much damage is coming out of, like, Violet, Twilight, and Glister, and he understands that he just needs to slow them down. Because every time he dies, they, like, Gladiators get, like, 2 or 3 kills, and I think it's making it very hard for Super to live as well. Like, almost every time Space dies, Super dies.
Taking heavy fire. My barrier can't take more. Routing power to forward shield.
They just made it into a strat? Yeah, I think Space has just turned it to 100, right? Recognizing that's what he needs to do. Oh, that's unfortunate. Threw the dragon at the same time they use the Transcendence. Troy getting kills? Like, Troy does the same thing.
Time to raise my EPM. I'm gonna have to shoot you down. I'm ready to initiate self-destruct sequence.
Alright. What are we gonna do with this bomb, Troy? Let's get some Troy love going. Kev's just got picked a lot. I think Glister Nero's top 3 most flexible DPS doers? Yeah, maybe. Fucking domed Kevster. Fire goes nuts on this point? Alright, let's watch Fire then.
I recommend moving behind my barrier. Cease your resistance. Team up for special attack.
Oh!
I am on fire. But an extinguisher is not required.
Filthy.
I recommend moving.
So which support comp is better in your opinion? Depends on the one which is, like, what you're playing. I don't like the Brig from the Gladiators right now. I don't think the Brig is offering anything. And I think that's why they're probably struggling to get through these doors. Is that there's just too much damage coming out and they can't mimic it. Skew goes probably too aggressive on the brig again. Rally's really good, yeah, but you need to be able to offer something other than rally, right? So it's like Skew just use their rally, they lose that fight. Yeah, so Skew goes Zen. Like, I think the Zen is just better. If you're going to play Orisa Hanzo, BAP, and you're really going to slow the game down, and there's the opposition, like, you're not going to be able to get, like, good positioning, I think you need the Zen for that extra damage.
My ultimate is charging.
This will be your shield.
My ultimate is charging. Routing power to forward barrier.
He doesn't play Zen? Who doesn't play Zen? Everyone in this game is a flex support. Literally all 4 players in this game are flex supports. Oh, unless you're talking about Moth. Right. Yeah, Moth is generally the Lucio Mercy player for the Gladiators. With Brig, Zen being so prominent, Scoot is always going to play.
There is chaos within you.
Please move behind the barrier.
We are as one system.
Cease your resistance. Team up for special attack.
I don't know why Violet decided to isolate himself on the left side. Can someone explain to me why Violet decides this is the time to go over here? He's dominating the right side. He's killing everyone.
Cease your resistance. Team up for special attack.
This feels like such a throw. Babysitting Tracer? Well, you don't need to be close to your Tracer. Like, he's just isolating himself, right?
Routing power to forward.
Like, I think Shock are in a pretty good spot if they... Violet stayed there. Well, brutal.
60 seconds remaining.
If Zen isn't meant to flank, why doesn't he have footsteps?
See through the dragon's eyes.
Can't argue with that logic. Birdering didn't even take damage. Ooh! So now Birdering with the counter throw. Let's go, Glitster. Look alive.
30 seconds
Violet watching too much Sideshow? I fucking hope not. Space in your backline? Yeah. Space is just existing in everyone's backline. Shoe cam? I didn't think it was until the last fight that you really need to see shoe cam. Nice bomb. That hit Choi as well. Capstick gets punished again. Alright, good hold by the San Francisco Shock. Gladiators running out of time.
60 seconds remaining.
I'm gonna have to shoot you down.
You are advised to move behind that barrier.
So I like where Shock are holding. Shock kind of need to hold here because of where the card is here. They really want to hold close. So if they're going to lose the fight, they're going to lose it early.
Cease your resistance.
Okay, good bongo by Muse. Remember seeing this. I don't know why Muse... Like, Muse drops his bongo. And then...
Cease your resistance.
Nero uses Pulse Bomb on it. But he, like, pops his Fortify and decides to, like, jump on the Pulse Bomb like it's an egg. Just like it'll protect his bongo. Oh, it's like it's a grenade. Get down, everyone! Grenade! And just, like, jumps on top of it.
Defense mode activated. Error detected.
Come on.
Feeding Shu ult? I doubt it. Space gets Glister again. Was this bad by Glister or good by Space?
30 seconds remaining.
That was quite an easy one. Oh, Glister's also just standing in the open. I don't know why Glister's just here. If I get stuck. Alright, so maybe some mistakes in that last one.
Overtime.
Here we go, shoe time.
I recommend moving behind my back.
I need healing.
Cease your resistance. Payload is approaching its destination.
Let them out.
That was so alpha. Do you ever just like Diva Baptiste dive? Like, what is that? That's actually so funny that they like he forces the lamp instantly and then Space just comes and cleans up. That was such a sick play by Shu. Like that, those are the kind of plays which is just like pure confidence. Like you just believe in yourself. Shu literally just believed in himself and went for it.
Ready for battle.
Is Shu a bongo from the other side of the street? Nah, you don't want to go on that side of the street. The top right is a better place to bongo. Alright, last map, map 5. This is usually where the gladiators would choke, and then we would spam satiators for the next week, and then we would all laugh about how the gladiators suck. But it didn't happen. It was surprising. I don't know how they got away with it. I much prefer the Symmetra over the Hanzo here. I think the Symmetra just charges up so well in comparison to the Hanzo. They get point control.
The objective is now active.
Oh, that I don't think Buttering played that very well at all. I feel like he got nothing done. But I guess Frozen. Let's look at the space in. Let's have a look at this space in. Dude, space literally is just accepting that he's dead. Space is just going, man.
I'm on fire.
Regen burst activated.
Sometimes the best way to tank is literally to tank all the damage, yeah. This style has been very common since like GOATs. Like people first started playing very aggressive in GOATs for the exact same way of like you just make yourself a threat because no one wants to turn on the Diva. The Diva has too much health, too much survivability. If you turn, it costs you too many resources. So Space is playing it really well. Burdering going to the Hanzo, I don't agree with, but here we are.
Let them out.
My ultimate is time to raise my APM.
Literally everyone frozen. Alright. Shock, you're gonna get that win though. Got more value out of their mail, like when they went down. Stop! Freezing time! Alright, let's see Glister's Dragon. Let's have a look. Gladiators don't really have a lot to work with, only the rally. Don't use this too early. Why do I feel like he's gonna use this too early? Not awful, still too early. Like, you don't, like, the way he used it is that they were just like, they could just sidestep and go this direction. They might have wanted to go this direction anyway. The best time to use a dragon is where you have to force people to make a decision, or maybe they just don't have the cooldowns to be able to deal with it, and that's when they really get caught. Ooh! Two down. Woo! That is a big bomb by your boy Choi. Choi still got it, baby. Alright, what do we got? Let's see what battering does here.
Again.
I also think that this one gets eaten, but it's also too early. Like, it's a lot harder for a diva to eat a dragon if, like, you're in the middle of a fight as well. Like, I feel like engaging with a Hanzo arrow is just a dragon is just never a good idea. Violet very much playing with fire, because I don't know if he was in the lamp. But with the wall, like, that's a dragon and a diva bomb that they haven't followed up on at all. They're just kind of hoping that they get value out of them. Like, they did get the lamp, but they need to be taking space off of these ults.
Into the iris.
This is better dragon by Glista. As I said, force Kevster out of a bad spot. Well played by Glista. Nero gets his ult in, but that doesn't matter at this point. Choi played so well and he took all the blame. People are just stupid. They're blaming everyone. I honestly don't think a single Shock player played really badly. I think they all were very, very good. I think all made mistakes, but you can say the same thing for Gladiators. Alright, so we're going to go into... Oh, wait, why is that so early? Alright, so we're going to go into... Gardens. We're going to get McCree Tracer versus McCree Tracer. I'm surprised neither one of them play Hanzo. Muse is so underrated. I don't agree that he's underrated. I think he is overrated based on the performance that he had in Overwatch League this year. But in this tournament, I think he's played well. So let me give that caveat, right? Like, I think he hasn't played up to the expectations that a lot of people had for him, but I think he's been playing a lot better as of late. Birdering Pub? I agree. Dink, dink, dink. Oh, careful, Twilight. Woo!
I need healing. I'm staking my claim on the objective.
That was some aggression by Birdring, rolling into the room. Oh! That lamp by Shu was so clutch. How does he not die in front of the window? Because of the lamp. The lamp was so good. Great aggression on this, but this is how the Gladiators have always played. They're a very aggressive team. They want to be the team that goes first. Where they're falling apart is that they don't have the coordination or they're not following up effectively, right? But that's how you get the wins. Alright, Shock's defensiveness pays off for once. On the back of a great pulse bomb from Kevster. Alright, the Shock. They got a wealth of ultimates as well here. This is going to be hard for the Gladiators to re-enter. Okay, playing slow on the point. Everyone chilling. Everyone's just having a good time. Vibing out.
Cease your resistance.
I remember this. This was a really bad play by the San Francisco Shock. I don't know why they feel the necessity to be the ones that aggress this hard. Like, I'm all for... Wait, actually, it's not here.
Nerf this.
Actually, it might be here.
Come on.
It's high noon. It's high noon.
So they high noon. And then they rally, but then they feel the need to get value from the rally. So by trying to get value from the rally, they over-aggress. Like, they walk out of position. End up in a really weird spot. They, like, do like a loop-de-loop. Twilight gets caught in the back, force the lamp, and dies. Like, this feels like a really bad call from the San Francisco Shock. Trying to make good out of a bad situation. Alright. Skewed pole? Nah. I want to go into this fight watching a big rally. I think you should rally soon, yeah. I think rallying and going is the play. That's a great decision to go. Raid boss skewed going again. Alright, so what was that? 2 ults? Rally window? You definitely take that. That was a good play by Gladiators. Up in the tempo, not playing afraid. Bad call by Super, yeah. Tried to use the bongo to try and, like, counter the window, and they just get walked out by the rally. That was such a good whip shot. Under birdering. That's such a good bongo. It's gonna hit everyone, but it's so hard for the Shock to deal with. Gets the Force's lamp. Rough.
Boosters engaged.
Team kill. Ready for battle.
The bash kind of screwed Super, yeah. You gotta be really careful about bashing a Brit. It's like, it's not bad, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's just like a funny little thing.
Round 3.
Teleporter online.
Capture the objective.
Wicked. Tracer here.
So now they're gonna play Tracer McCree with the Ryan against the Zen Brig dive. So this is a pretty classic thing in the East, the Hanzo Zen Brig dive from the Gladiators. Going right here, lost the map. So I have one person 5 lines earlier. Super going a risk here on City Center was a terrible idea. Another person 5 lines later. Going right here, lost them the map. I'm starting to think you guys can't agree on anything. I'm starting to think that maybe there's difference of opinions going on about these things.
The
I kind of like the Reinhardt. That's how you play against the counter dive. I think that Reinhardt is the right call here. That is a filthy shot onto Nero.
I need healing.
Oh, that was a recoil shot as well. That is unfortunate. Obviously, Sim should have gone Zaya. How come Shock don't mirror dives? Because they don't seem confident on the dive. They don't want to play dive. That's why they've avoided it. It's kind of the same thing as the Atlanta Reign, right? It's just not their strength, so they're going to play to their strengths. Choi gets birdering. Good play by Choi. Woo! That pulse bomb was so important. If he doesn't hit that double pulse bomb, I think Shock win this fight. For sure. Custa, I know this might be a Pepega take, but I think it came down to a difference of team play rather than one hero causing the Shock to lose. You shut your mouth right now, okay? How dare you? How dare you come into my chat and say that this one thing that has very little impact on the overall scheme of the game wasn't the 100% the reason that the San Francisco Shock lost and why they're not going to three-peat, okay? If you're going to use hot takes, it's 15K!
Peace be upon you.
No odds, no win. Ah, chat, you guys. Alright, so we have the San Francisco Shock trying to re-engage on this. And this is where it gets hard if you're the San Francisco Shock. Is retaking with these slower comps. And maybe why Super played the Arista. I think he probably should have just stayed the Reinhardt. But it's just so hard to retake into. Because, like, the Gladiators have all the time in the world to just sort of do it, like, engage when they want to, because Shock can't really flip the point for one, but they have double defensive ults. I think Birdring gets a big kill here. The streamer screamed at us. For you guys that aren't paying attention, it was a joke. Woo! Good dragon. So that was a lot of Gladiators also.
I'm on fire. Come on, try me. I'm in the zone. Get behind me.
Nero gets isolated. I didn't even notice this happen on the broadcast. How did he get caught here? Super swaps again. He has to swap here, though. Oh, he gets seen. It's a great punish by the Gladiators. Ah, he's in so much trouble. I thought he got, like, picked, but that was unfortunate. That was a good scout and a good punish by the Gladiators, knowing all they had to do was isolate Nero there. It's great teamwork. And that wasn't Nero's fault. I think Nero was doing the right thing. He just got caught, you know? Birdring gets Custa. Diva Bomb. Not big enough. And they did it. They did it. The Gladiators are no longer Sadiators. They are Gladiators. Actually is a good way to put it. I think they played really well. I think Gladiators look solid. They look very, very solid. I think they have a chance to win the whole thing. I talked about it earlier. I think this is a tournament where all 4 teams can win. I think the Gladiators can win. I think Atlanta can win. I think Seoul can win. And I think Chengdu can win. My personal money is on the Chengdu Hunters. I think that they are playing the most flexible, but also the best Pharah comp. And I think a lot of the teams are going to struggle to deal with it. Time will tell, though. As I said, I think a lot of teams can beat Chengdu. I hope you guys found this review interesting. I think there's a lot to be learned. I think the Shock played really well. I think the Gladiators played really well. I don't think anyone is to blame. You don't need to blame someone when things go wrong. I think it was great play from all players all around. I'm excited to see both these teams. I'm excited to see Gladiators in the playoffs of the Countdown Cup, but I'm also excited to see both these teams in the playoffs because they do have outside chances of having a really good playoffs. If they find the right meta, they keep playing this way, anything is possible. So, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time.